I turn the key, and all it does is click. My engine won't turn over. So now what? Battery? Or starter? Let's check the following: battery, battery connections, starter, and starter control. Since we are at the battery, let's do a quick visual inspection of the terminals. Your battery terminals should be clean and free of corrosion. They should also be tight. With your hand, grab each terminal, and try to wiggle it. If it doesn't move, then it's tight. If your terminals look corroded, they need to be cleaned. Dirty terminals will reduce current flow, which could cause a single click, or multiple, rapid clicks when trying to start engine. Take a disposable cup of water and mix some baking soda in it. Stir the mixture, then pour on each terminal to neutralize the acid. Then rinse each terminal with clean water. Then remove the terminals and clean the areas that connect to the battery with a wire brush to ensure you have a good connection. Severely corroded terminals can cause starting and charging issues. The next thing to check is battery voltage with a multimeter. These are super cheap and can be bought at Walmart, online, or at any parts store. You will want to turn the multimeter to the DC volts setting. Then take the black lead and connect to the negative side of battery. Then, connect the red lead to the positive side of the battery. The reading should be at least 12.5 volts. If it is, then have a helper try to crank the engine while you read the voltmeter. If the reading drops below the 12.0 volt reading, your battery is either bad or needs charged. Something to keep in mind: batteries usually only last between 4 to 6 years on average. If you don't have a multimeter, you can still do this test, you just won't know what the actual voltage is. Start by turning on your headlights. Do they light up? Are they bright, or dim? This will give you a general indication of the charge of the battery. Next, with the headlights still on, try to start the vehicle. You are checking to see if the lights go out, get dim, or no change at all. If the lights go off or get real dim, then most likely you have a battery issue. If there was no change at all, then you likely have an issue with the starter. The starter draws a lot of current, so it should make the lights dim a little bit, but not go off. Generally, a starter has two wires going to them. A big cable that comes directly from the battery. This cable carries the load needed to spin the starter during cranking. The smaller wire is called the trigger wire, or signal wire. Basically, when you turn the key to the start position, you are sending 12 volts to the signal wire. There is a switch on the inside of the starter you can't see. When the switch gets activated, by getting 12 volts from the signal wire, the starter will spin as long as there is proper voltage supplied by the battery. The starter draws a lot of amps during cranking. A weak battery won't allow a starter to do its job. The starter itself provides the ground through the housing that is bolted to the engine. So what you need to do is, make sure you have 12 volts on the big cable at the starter. Connect the black lead to a ground, which could be the starter housing, engine block, or the negative side of the battery if the leads are long enough. Then connect the positive lead to the big wire at the starter. You should read at least 12.5 volts. If so, we shall move on to the trigger, or control wire. You will need a test light for this procedure. These are inexpensive and can be purchased at Walmart, online, or any parts store. Clamp the end to a good ground. Touch the point end on the S terminal on the starter. Then with a helper, have them attempt to start the vehicle. If the trigger wire is getting power, the test light will light. If the big cable is battery voltage, at least 12.5 volts, and the trigger wire is getting the signal when you turn the key and it still won't spin the engine over, then the starter is bad. If you don't get 12 volts at the signal wire, or the S terminal, at the starter when the key is in the start position, then you have a wiring problem, which is beyond the scope of this video. It could be a blown fuse, short in the wire, bad relay or bad ignition switch. More tests would need to be conducted as replacing the battery end or the starter would not fix that issue. With these tests, you should be able to pinpoint either a bad battery, bad starter, or bad connection to the battery. There is one more test to conduct once the vehicle is running. Put multimeter in the 20 volts DC voltage mode. Connect the black lead to the negative or minus battery post. The red should be on the positive or plus side. The voltage should be 12.5 to 12.7 volts on a good, fully charged battery, engine off. Now, start the vehicle and read the display now. You should have a reading of 13.5 to 14.2 volts. That means that the alternator is doing its job of charging the battery. Good luck and thanks for watching.